friends, welcome to CEC Gurukul live lectures. Dear friends, this is a session on career counseling called Pratibha Sambardhan, and every time we try to bring for you different areas, different career options. We wish to get you acquainted with different areas, but today we are going to take your account in another important information, I would say, which is very, very important for each one of you, because you are on the verge of having a blissful career in the future. So friends, today we would be discussing on how you can make your studies effective, how you can study in an effective manner, how you without taking any stress can pave a way for yourself. So friends, for this discussion on the topic, we have with us Miss Nandini Datta. Miss Nandini Datta is a counseling psychologist, and she is working with Jitin Chawla's Center for Career and Development. She is herself an MA in psychology, and we believe that she is the right person to talk to on this particular topic. So let's welcome our guest, Miss Nandini Datta, and let's try to understand how youth today, the students today, can revive themselves, how and what effective way they can find out so that they could learn at most, as well as they could have a blissful career in the future. Hello, Ms. Nandini. Welcome to the session.
Thank you so much.
So, Ms. Nandini, today students have lots and lots of pressure. We have this pressure of getting good marks. We have this pressure of getting good grades. We have this pressure of selecting a good career option in the future. And in this, sometimes we lose ourselves. Sometimes we are not able to cope up with the situation, and the problems such as anxiety, depression, or stress, they try to they hampers us. So what is the reason behind it?
So at times, first we need to understand that all of these things need to be managed in a very effective manner, and first of all they need to be identified correctly. If they're dealing with burnout, if they're dealing with stress, if they're dealing with increased anxiety, if they're dealing with increased pressure, what is the actual thing that they're dealing with? So the first step is always identification. So even with students, even with adults of any age, it is very important to understand कि मुझे हो क्या रहा है. Is it this thing that I'm dealing with? Is it this thing, or is it something else only that I'm dealing with, which probably doesn't need my attention also? So the very first step that I would say is identification of the problem area, and probably then looking at techniques, looking at management techniques, looking at effective techniques to manage that particular difficulty.
So this is the way how one can find a way for himself or herself. Now the question arises how to manage ourselves, because managing ourselves is the most important thing. Within 24 hours we need to do a couple of things, and sometimes it becomes difficult for us to concentrate at the different levels. So what is the way out?
So mainly when I talk about students who are dealing with extensive pressure of exams, could be any entrances, could be dealing with multiple exams at the same time, or it could be adults also who are dealing with 6 or 7 days working and with very less time for themselves. So I feel it is very important to have time for yourself. Probably it's easy to say, but at times when we are in that domain, we kind of forget ourselves and we kind of just keep on working, keep on giving it everything. But it is very important to take out, even if it is just 10 minutes or 15 minutes for yourself, to spend that time with yourself and just do anything and everything that you like, which is apart from your daily routine, which is basically, so you could just go for a walk, you could just go for a movie, you could just spend time with your family, you could spend time with your friends, you could just simply sit in your bed and just do nothing, if that's simple. So I think it is very important to take out time for yourself and spend that time with yourself.
There are different sets of students. Some students just require 2 hours to study, but some students they actually need more than 2 hours, and because they need more hours to study, so they get very less time to spend that time with their own self or with their loved ones or their family and friends. So for those students, it becomes very difficult to cope with. For them, what is the suggestion?
So here something that I probably also have tried when I was studying for my exams is probably having a very strict study routine. So and I would also try and burst a myth sort of a thing here, that studying for 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours it is not necessary that you will yield results or it will give you 100% marks. It is very different for every student. So for every individual, you need to identify which is the correct study pattern, how many hours investing in it is effective for you. Probably it could be different for me, it could be different from for some other student. So it is very important to identify your correct study pattern. How long are you supposed to put into a particular topic so that you will get the resultant or you will get an output which is effective. So secondly, to have a good study pattern is the most important thing. Study pattern in terms of, I mean, you have a specific time to study, you have a specific time to take break. So for example, if I'm studying for 10 to 12, then I should make sure that I have a 5 or 10 minute break in between and I'm not stretching it for longer, because then our attention span kind of dissolves and we kind of are just reading for the sake of reading. So it is very important, even with adults, even with people who are working in corporates, or even for people who are just doing their own thing, it is very important to have breaks in your schedule. It is very important to take those breaks. You should never feel guilty of taking breaks, because it kind of prevents any kind of burnout, be it physical, be it mental, be it any kind of burnout. You're kind of devoid of it. So that is most important.
Some students often face this problem of sleep disorder while during the examination or before the examination, and they feel so. Now they are not able to sleep because the stress level is at a high, and for them it is difficult to sleep then too. So what is the way out so that one can have a proper sleep? Because once you're relaxed, then it is easier for you to concentrate on whatever you are studying, or even you are relaxing also afterwards. So do you feel so that proper sleep pattern should be followed from the very beginning, not at the 11th or not before 2 or 3 weeks before the examination? Because whatever you will follow from the beginning, it will persist till end.
Right. So very rightly said. I think sleep is something that nobody should compromise with, because on an average also, if we look at an individual, an average duration needed by an individual regarding sleep is say around 6 hours. So nothing below that would suffice and nothing above that. Above that would become, you become very lazy, you become lethargic. But I think 6 years is a decent time that one should give to sleeping, give to just relaxing and just not doing anything else in that time. Because at times I see students who are specifically in 10th or 12th, or people who are aiming for entrances, or who are preparing for extremely difficult exams, they kind of compromise on their sleep, they compromise on their diet, they take extensive level of caffeine intake. So I think those things kind of build an unhealthy way of dealing with the situation. So, and this is the time where you have to be really healthy with what you're doing, the techniques that you're using to manage that level of stress. So this is where your mindfulness techniques, your spending time with nature, exercising, meditating, all of these things should come into use, instead of increasing your caffeine intake, eating all kinds of junk food. Because I think the type of food also that you eat has a great impact on your brain, on the encoding of material, on the storage of material. So things, which is why we always say that we should have a balanced diet. That is the only reason that we say, and we studied also in our younger classes, that we should have a balanced diet, we should have a good amount of protein, omega-3, vitamin, minerals. So that is the only reason our brain keeps functioning in a good direction. So I think that is more important.
Now, another important point, what amount we should eat, because after eating ample of food, we feel like now we need to go for a sleep, we need a bed.
Yeah.
So how important it is to take care of the amount you are eating too.
So
and what
it is-
kind of food you are
yeah.
eating.
It is very important because if you would have noticed, when we're eating a lot of junk food, we tend to feel lazy, we tend to feel sleepy, lethargic, and we don't feel like doing anything else. Why does that happen? Because it always has a directly proportional impact on our brain, on how our body functions. So eating healthy diet in the right amount, probably not like considering consulting a dietitian, but just a general amount of good amount of protein, salads, calcium, all of these should be in your plate when you're sitting there for a meal, so that when you get up, you feel some sort of energy, you feel more motivation to work, you're not fatigued, you're not lazy. So I think that will give you again a boost of energy to work through the entire remaining day.
On contrary, do you feel so the short naps also work sometimes? After a short nap, you feel I'm energized now, and now I'm active, and now I can study for more than 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, because I have taken that short nap. So if somebody has this habit, don't avoid it. Instead of studying and you're lacking your concentration, is instead of that, go for that short nap and
Yeah.
go back to the studies again.
In fact, it does help. If you, it varies from person to person, but if taking short naps, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes in between the preparation of your exams, if that helps, then you should definitely go ahead with it, instead of not sleeping only and giving your exam with like a if you've not slept for 6 hours straight and you're going and next day you have an exam, it definitely becomes very difficult. Then the moment you come back home, you're extremely sleepy and you just sleep. So there is very less productivity. If you're not sleeping well, your productivity level decreases. So it is very important to understand, if you're a short nap person, if you need sleep, then sleep. Do not compromise on that. But you need to understand which thing works for you.
Why I'm again and again stressing on the sleep, because the more you are active, the more you will be concentrating on your studies, and every child, everyone has their own sleep patterns. And as I said earlier also, that as you spend time and you spend your energies in concentrating your studies, as well as like you have the patterns of studying also, everyone has their own pattern of studying, one should have the pattern of sleep too.
Yes.
Because that pattern would definitely help you out when you are very near to your examinations.
Yes.
So we have covered about how important it is to sleep, how important it is to eat the healthy food, as well as the food which of course makes you happy, because eating a good food which makes you happy
Yes.
is also important.
Yes.
Sometimes after eating a food you feel so, no, I don't want to study. I'm not feeling good. I can't study. So that is one of the important point. And now the time management.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to the same thing which we have started with earlier, that how important is to manage yourself is very, very important
Yes,
thing.
yes.
So, how I can manage myself? Should I take care of what kind of student I am? Or depending on what is my priority? Or what is the deadline is talking about? So, how one could manage?
So I think the three things that you mentioned, all the three things combined should be on the checklist of a student, or anybody who is aiming for an entrance exam, or anybody who's probably completing a target. So I think you really need to be clear with what the deadline is. How will I be able to complete the set things in this much of time available, and how effectively would I be completing it? So I think these three things, and also, is my time allowing me to do that much? So everybody has 24 hours, but how you utilize it becomes a question. So probably, ma'am, you also have 24 hours, I also have 24 hours, but how we are managing it would be very different, because she's probably having different things in mind for her day, I would have different things planned for the day. So what is your objective of the day should be really clear at the start of the day. Like, you should, what I follow is that I come back, I start the day with making a checklist, making a to-do list of what I have to do, probably say the entire week or the entire day. And that is how, I feel satisfied also by the end of the day. I've probably done 5 things out of the 6 things mentioned. So that will give you a sense of satisfaction, a sense of relief कि मैंने कुछ तो किया है. It's not that you've wasted the entire day, you've not done anything, you were not productive at all, but at the end you will feel, after those 8 or 9 hours of working or studying, you will feel that yes, I have achieved something in the entire day. And that is how, if you practice this regularly, it is not like कि एक दिन करोगे तो अगले दिन से मुझे हो जाएगा. You really have to practice your entire routine for say 10 to 14 days to come into that algorithm. If you do not say practice it for a week also, you're not going to function in that way. It will become really difficult to get into that routine of functioning.
Very true, and strict discipline always help you out, whether you are appearing for
Yes.
an examination or not. Even if your examination is in the next year, but
Yes.
if you follow the pattern from the very beginning, first of all, it will help you out in studying
Yeah.
at a stretch, as well as when you study at a stretch, you study in detail.
Yes.
And when you study in detail, at the last moment, you can of course have a revision time.
Yes.
So that revision time is the most important thing,
Yes.
because most of the students, they have spent their time in doing ample of the things throughout the year, and at the last moment, at the 11th hour, they feel, so this has not been done, this has not been done, I need to study this, and there the panic arises.
Right.
So how can one manage herself or himself in such a manner, and how one can segregate which subject is to be studied first and what is to be learnt at the 11th hour, that is to be point to be
Yes.
taken into
Yes,
account.
yes,
So
yes.
what is your say on it?
So I think in the morning you're energized. For some people, you're energized in the morning. For some people, you're energized at the night. So that you have to figure out for yourself. But I feel whenever your energy levels are extremely extensive, you have to take topics which are difficult to understand, or which you know that you have to give this much time to that topic. So I think when your energy levels are extensive, they're high, which means that you will concentrate even better, you will be able to focus even better, you will be able to give pay attention to it for a longer stretch of time. That is important to understand. So your priority list should be कि जब मेरा energy level high है तब मैं वो topics कर लूँगी जो बहुत difficult हैं, or which have a larger content to understand, larger content to memorize. And then probably the easier topics can be done later on, or can be bifurcated in some other days as well.
And each student should introspect herself or himself, taking into account what kind of a student I am,
Right.
what is my caliber, and to what extent I can go, because going beyond yourself is very important, and
Yes.
one has to work out in such manner too. So if in the very beginning, as I said, if my examination is next year and I have started studying from the very first year, from this year too, then it is easier for me to grab all the details in advance, as well as a number of students have their patterns, their tricks to deal with their examination. Sometimes some students have this habit of jotting out the points. Some have this tendency to make the notes. Some highlights the particular lines in their books. Some students jot out the highlights so that it becomes easier for them to study at the last moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So every student need to first of all know himself or herself.
Definitely.
What kind of a person I am,
Definitely.
and what study will help me out, what kind of study, because that particular pattern is to be taken care of it
Yes.
by me only.
Yes, because whatever pattern that you pick right now will be with you for lifelong. So I think very important first step is to identify what kind of a person am I, and what study pattern will be most effective for me. So at times there are students who say कि मेरे को notes बनाने ही नहीं है, I will just directly read from the laptop or the presentation or the material that has been provided by the college or school. So that is also okay. But at times there are some students who say that मुझे notes बनाने हैं, handwritten notes, otherwise I will not be able to memorize anything. That is also perfectly fine. So you need to understand कि what domain स्पेसिफिक या फिर किस एरिया में मुझे किस टाइप के नोट्स बनाने में हेल्प होएगा. सो इफ यू गेट दैट यू नो checked off from your list, you will be sorted for your entire exam series, or you will be able to prepare in a better way, in an efficient way.
Very true. Now, because one is studying and all those students who has this dire need to win the situation, they leave no stone unturned, and they give their 100%, whether there is a sleep disorder, where they are not able to eat properly, because for them achieving their goal is the most important thing. For those students or all those students who are appearing for any kind of examinations, or examinations are near about or in the future or very late, how important is to take care of your mental health, because you have lots and lots of pressure. The pressure, first of all, is created by you yourself. Right. I need to win. Right. First important pressure. Second pressure is of course by the family, the parents, and the third is the peer pressure, the friends around, or those students who are better than you. So you have this dire need, I have to win. उससे ज़्यादा नंबर लाने हैं. I have to. I want to achieve the first grade. So for them, mental health is very important. How the mental health should be taken care of, because we are talking about routine, and I think routine is what makes us as well as destroy us.
Yes.
So do you feel the mental health should also be taken care from the very beginning?
Oh yes, definitely. Mental health comes hand in hand with every aspect, every domain. Whether we're talking about working professionals, whether we're talking about students who've just stepped into companies to work, and or we're talking about students who are just going to give their exams in the next year. So it is very important to take care of your mental health, because if you're not okay mentally, if you're not able to focus mentally, if you're overburdened, if you're overwhelmed at every stage, you will not be able to give your 100%, even if you're working that hard. So it is, I feel that there are three things that should be really important to be looked at. First is having a positive mindset. I have seen lot of students who say कि मुझसे नहीं होगा, मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगी, ये मुझसे होएगा ही नहीं, so they don't even give it a try. But you have to really understand, you have to give your 100% in every domain. If you have planned it that ways, if you're thinking positively about it, you will definitely come gracefully and come out with flying colors out of it. So I think positive mindset is one thing which goes handy in every aspect, whether be it in relationships, be it in school, in academic related, or in professional domain. A positive mindset will definitely help you, deal with every kind of stress, every kind of overburdened situation and overwhelming situation. The second thing is stress management. So stress management, of course, stress तो सबको होता है, किसको नहीं होता. So becoming able to manage the stress effectively is also important. So stress हम कैसे manage करेंगे? Meditation, working out, probably giving that 15 to 30 minutes to exercising, to spending that time with nature. वो करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. If you don't do that, you will kind of lose track of what you're doing.
Yes, very important. This is how one can deal with the problems such as depression, anxiety, and other mental health related issues, as well as do you feel so? Whatever pleases us, for example, be it listening to good music, or going out and having a walk and taking fresh air. It also helps you because it pleases you. It asks you to adopt me, and
Yes.
If you adopt the certain things, it is easier for you to
Yes.
cope up with this certain kind
Yes.
of this
Yes.
stress. So, Ms. Nandini, thank you so much for giving us this wonderful session, and I believe that all the students who might have watched us or would be watching us through our YouTube channel, or who have watched us the live session too, we would be telling you from time to time, and we are promising you that we will be giving you such more content so that you could move in life, you could make a good career, and you could have a blessed future. So friends, keep watching us. Thank you.